Have you ever walked into a room and immediately become a smaller version of yourself? A different version at work, a different version at church, even a different version at home? That's what I want to talk about today because this has recently come into my world and I cannot be alone. Maybe there's a version of you that's quieter, more agreeable, less expressive, less you. So, what if the greatest obstacle to your leadership isn't a lack of talent per se? It's the leader that you've been quietly editing away. Today, we are going to be talking about the stories we tell ourselves, the way we dim ourselves, and what it looks like when you turn the light all the way up. So, welcome to Rachel's Leadership Lounge, and welcome back for those of you who have joined me before. This is the space where we have honest conversations about leadership, growth, and becoming. And I am your host, Rachel Bolton, and today's guest is some of you have met before, so we get to welcome him back. David Heaps is the founder of Leadering and someone whose work has profoundly shaped not just how I look at leadership, but actually has profoundly started to shape my own life. Today, I'm hoping to share with you some of David's philosophy on inner architecture. And we're pulling back the curtain on some of the work that we've actually been doing together over the past several months. We're talking about the dimmer switch. We're talking about the worth gap, the stories that we carry about ourselves and what happens when we stop editing who we are. So, David, welcome back to the lounge.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I feel like I'm seeing you more these days. And one of the things we talked about sharing with the audience is how we met, because I feel like your version of it and my version of it are kind of different. So, can we start there? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So, I'm going to give my version first because it's accurate.
Great. Okay.
And then
Oh,
you
that's
tell
a good
me
reason to go first. Yeah.
and then you tell me how it came across to you. But,
Sure. Sure.
for those of you who follow me on LinkedIn, you probably know I'm very active on LinkedIn. I believe in connecting with others, expanding your network. And one thing I do is I put in hashtag leadership or hashtag leadership development, and I look at the posts that fall under that category. And one random day, I see a post that doesn't just have leadership, hashtag leadership in it, but it also has this word leader ring. And we talked about this when you visited the show last time, David, but something about that word, I'm like, what is leadering? Okay, this is the first time I've ever heard this word. I've got to write this dude and talk to him about leadering. That was literally the inspiration. I think I sent you a request and then like a DM, and I'm like, what's leadering? Let's talk about this. Or maybe I didn't even start with that. I probably said, hey, be my friend. I don't know.
I think it was closer to the second one. Yeah.
What do you,
Actually, I kind of, well, no, I'll let you finish. I was going to jump in with something, but I'll let you
no,
finish.
I'm done. I was going to say, what do you remember?
I remember thinking, I think this person's trying to coach me. You
I
were,
was. I was.
were you?
Yes, I was telling you to get off the couch. I think I was like, are you gonna do your workout? What are you doing? And you're like, the
Yeah.
couch has got me a little lazy. I was like, you gotta get up. It's time. Gotta get up. Get off the couch.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
the second day I knew you. I don't even
Maybe the second day, but already she's, handing out the encouragement, which, I just thought was fun,
yeah.
the way you're funny, and I didn't really know that, but came into my DMs, and you had a great sense of humor, and you were kinda pushy, and I kinda liked it.
Wow. See what I'm saying, people? My version, his version. But no, that's true, and we joked about this recently, like,
Yeah.
I feel like the child Rachel in me, like the 5-year-old, 6-year-old, on the playground in me came out, like, "You're just gonna be my friend." I
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
mentally decided when I saw Leader Ring and just sort of the body of work you have, and I checked out
yeah.
your website, I'd done some homework, I'm like, "I like him, he's gonna be my friend." And so from that moment on, we were friends. And even though I'm pushing you to get off the couch and like telling you, I'm probably disclosed more than I normally do early on. And that's where our sort of just funny LinkedIn rapport, we really started to like shift into you coaching me instead of me coaching you. Would you say that's true?
Um, yeah, I think, let me just say that, it was, uh, it's different. It's interesting because a lot of the significant relationships in my life only happened because somebody kind of elbowed their way in and decided, yeah, I'm going to get past whatever you got going on there. Cause I tend to be a little more inward if you haven't, noticed.
Yeah.
And so it's really helpful when people with your kind of energy comes along and just and is a little bit insistent, and then I recognize it, and then I can let my guard down a little bit and go, okay, okay. And yeah, I think at your request, maybe I don't remember, but you suggested that we have a
Yeah.
call to
Coffee chat
connect,
or something. Yeah. Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I think we took like 30 minutes and just kind of got to know each other a little bit, and yeah, then it just kind of, well, again, I think you've kind of prompted uh at every stage kind of our relationship deepening
Yeah. Yeah.
by being really honest and really kind of transparent and vulnerable, which is, kind of my catnip. I'm like, that's I love it.
Yep, yep, and insistent. I'm not gonna let you let that word slide, okay? I am insistent and actually very honest. I don't think messages are transactional. I wasn't doing this to, like, get a job out of you, like, let's get the disclaimers. I had no intent, ill intent, simply just liked sort of some of the posts and the content you have. You have a lot of carousels that I really liked. And then got to reading your website, and then I was like, I was just intrigued. I'm like, this he's going to be my friend. So here we are months later. I mean, this is what? How was this November? I want to say
Yeah, I think it was
about
November.
7 or 8 months later, and it's still blossoming. So this is why I wanted to bring you back. You're my first repeat guest. I feel like that's an honor you should wear proudly, right?
I am honored. I'm very appreciative. I love the opportunity to come and hang out.
Well, I have to have you on after engaging with you in some of your inner architecture work. I mentioned it at the top of the session and just saying how it is currently transforming my life. One of the biggest breakthroughs in our work together so far was uncovering a belief that had been quietly sort of running the show, running the program in the
Mm,
background.
mm,
And I named it. One of the things that I had to reread from your, documents that you share after sessions, the architecture
mhm.
map and
Yep,
sort
yep.
of where we start, the starting point, is that I coined these phrases. And in my head, I'm like, "No, that came from David." Even when I talked to my husband about it, I'm like, "David's the one who taught me about the work, yeah." And you're like, "No, those were your words," which I think is interesting. And underneath all of that was I am too much or I don't belong. And that is some of the work that we've been uncovering that I'm hoping that we can talk through with the audience because I cannot be alone. I'm pretty sure many of my listeners are probably experiencing or have experienced some of the very things I've shared with you. And you mentioned earlier that I'm a little vulnerable, I'm a little transparent. That's a
Mm,
good thing for the work
mm,
that you
mm.
do, right? You said that's
Essential,
your catnip.
essential. Yeah, it's essential. So, and when I say it's catnip, it's just, when I see somebody who is open and vulnerable and really wants to know, it's kind of rare. And so when I see it, everything in me kind of flips on and I'm very attentive to that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and you said it's kind of rare that people want to know. You mean that people do not want to run toward this type of work, David? I wonder why.
yeah, it's interesting though because I'm not gonna, I bump into a lot of people that talk about this kind of work like it's this deep, dark, scary thing, and it's just not.
Yeah,
It's really not. And I think you're discovering that firsthand, as you peel back these layers and recognize these things that they're not new.
Yeah.
They were there, but you didn't have any distance between you and it, and then as you are able to create some distance between you and it and see how it's operating in your life, it's amazing. It's like, wow, this thing that has just been right under my nose this whole time, and, in a sense, operating from the shadows, but really just right there out in the open. But you're so used to it. It's you just mistake it for who you are instead of the program that's running. That's just it's so practiced. You don't even know it's not you.
Yeah. Oh, that's well said. I mean, I have done my share of some inner work. I mean, I've logged some hours on content binging, journaling, shadow work, dream interpretation. I mean, there's a lot of it out there. And I've been out of corporate for a while. I've got time to kill. And in all of those hours logged, all of that work done, these 2 things never surfaced in that, if we're honest. So I wanna start
Mhm,
with,
mhm.
the dimmer switch, which I created that term, not David, alright? So anybody who wants to copyright it or steal it, you gotta go through me. But the dimmer switch, we gave this pattern a name, and what is the pattern? Can you explain what that means? You first, and then I'll share how I've been applying it and how it's been showing up.
Well, to be honest, I don't remember how we got there. You're probably gonna remember better how we got there than even I did,
Yeah.
because I've got all kinds of
Oh,
people
so
in
many
here.
stories, that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I was sharing a story about early in my career, and this is why I wore blue eyeshadow today. Everything is tied in, right? How earlier in my career, I was told way back in my old Florida early career days, early
Uh-huh,
20s,
uh-huh.
that
Right.
I was wearing the hottest hot pink. I had earrings that matched my eyeshadow, the earrings, outfit, the shoe. I remember that shoe like yesterday. It was a good outfit. All right. And what I deemed to be professional as well. I was working in a showroom. I thought this is expressive, this is artistic, and you and I know that this is how I like to show up. And I had a leader, a senior leader, female, tell me this isn't appropriate for the office. Like you need to tone it down. And that phrase, tone it down, was said early, so it was seated. And then I heard it again as I climbed the ranks professionally a little bit. And I think we then learn that that becomes a loop. You tone it down, it's semi rewarded, you feel relief, so you keep doing it. And it's at the expense of some self abandonment. So I say, oh, well, sometimes I'm full Rachel, Queen Rachel. This is what I said because I showed up at a conference and I wanted to be this grandiose version. And then sometimes I tone it down. I dim it a little bit. I'm diet Rachel. So that's kind of where that yeah, do you remember? Yeah. That's where that phrasing came from, and where the experience that led to that, and probably more if we as we continue working, but definitely those 2 stand out in terms of career, in terms of work. So when I left my organization, I got to go to this conference and not have to dim myself because I didn't work for them and I could just be full me. And it was exciting to return and tell you about it. That's where it started.
Yeah, that is actually a question I have. I don't think I've ever, gotten answered. Was that the reason for the call? You were just excited to
Yeah.
share that experience? Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I was always under the impression that you called to give me
Yeah.
you wanted to have a call to give me the full
Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
but, you just wanted to share what a cool experience it was.
Exactly. I was literally calling just to brag. I was like, "We gotta get on a call. I just got back from this awesome thing," and a shout out to Brandon Hall Group. They put on wonderful conferences and summits. I was in a women in leadership summit, and it was literally like 6 days after I left my former
Mm,
org. And
mm.
so to go down there and show up and then have it reflected back to me in such a strong way, I was like, If anybody will appreciate it, it's my friend David, who I just met a week ago. Like I don't, but that was the purpose of the call. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, so that call blew me away because you did share
yeah,
what you came to share, but also you got really, like, there's this thing that happens, and it's different with everybody that I work with, but with you, it's very obvious to me
yeah.
when you are sliding into something that you don't wanna go into, but
Hmm.
you are. You're doing it, but you don't want to. There's a your countenance changes, and I see a younger version of you, kind
Yeah,
of kind of looking at me like, "Is this okay? Is this okay?"
yeah.
And so, you did that, and I'd never seen that before because you and I were not
No,
doing any work together, but I recognized what was happening. I'm like, "Oh, she's about to open something up." So I just let you open it up, and
yeah,
you absolutely did.
yeah. I wasn't expecting to go there, and so I think one, there was this sort of instant trust, which no, I don't give away to everybody. Believe me, there are probably people listening to this like, okay, how did he get that out of her? And
Mm-mm.
two,
No.
I, I can be quite guarded, even though I'm a little bit extroverted and I'm very social. I can be very guarded. And we've talked about this. So when I feel there's like, I can trust this person, I can feel I can trust this person, well, then new things come to the surface that I wasn't prepared for, and I think it was the grief of leaving
Mm.
something so familiar to me. I've
Yep.
been working in corporate for over 15 years, 18 years, and being out of that container, and then here I think I'm gonna call you and boast about it, but now, like, under that, there was some grief that surfaced as well, and I think that's where you sort of picked up on, "She's about to share more," and that was just an identity thing, and you and I talked about identity. It's coaching work, it's deep work, but, like, it's ongoing. It's ever ongoing, and for that moment, that threshold in my life, I had just lost a major identity, and so I thought I was gonna join you and tell you how great I was a star down there. I wore whatever I wanted. People were asking for my autograph, which I did. I probably did say all of that cocky, stupidity, braggadocious, humorous recap. But then underneath that, humor masks pain sometimes. And I think that's
Mm.
what came out. And you, of course, asked questions to pull it out as you so masterfully do. You know?
Well, you had kinda laid down the gauntlet. You handed me something very vulnerable, and so I recognized, well, I didn't know how difficult trust was for you, in that moment. I just recognized that you were placing an incredible amount of trust in me, just sharing that with me,
Yeah.
and because you did that, it was as if you sort of set a table for me. And so I believe I asked you if you'd be willing to
Yeah, you did.
get
Yep.
into it a little bit.
Yep.
And so, we basically just used the energy from that upset because I could tell the upset it went very deep.
Yeah.
And I had you do a little bit of a somatic process, kind of woke the body up, because, that kind of an upset is an alarm. And that alarm, I call a signature,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is just a combination of different sensations, thoughts in the mind, and so forth. And with particular wounds, they tend to show up in the same way. So an alarm that got created or went off when you were younger is going to match the same alarm in your system as an adult. So if you wake that up in the body, you're then able to kind of follow that thread back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it kinda took us back to an interesting place, and what I think is so interesting is that, it took us to an event, but, and we I actually it's been a while, so I don't remember exactly where we got with it, but I know it was helpful, but it wasn't until months later when we revisited it and went back to it, and we kinda went all the way down that I feel like we sort of, hit pay dirt with that one. It's the root of everything that had kind of come before it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're talking about the playground. The playground, and I just I recently told this story to a totally different networking peer, and it came up in a totally different way, but it feels like, gosh, I feel like I'm telling this story more than I ever did. Like, I've suppressed that story for a hot minute, and now, like, all of a sudden, I'm sharing it all the time. So world is about to hear this story now too, but, yeah, initially think as we started talking about the dimmer switch and why do we sort of edit for church Rachel and corporate Rachel and home Rachel a little bit after that sort of like close your eyes exercise. And I was like, you know what's coming to me? It's this time on the playground. And I think I touched on it briefly, like, oh, me and my little sister, we were on this playground one day when we were young, and like this van full of kids got out and they told us we couldn't be on the swings. And I even made a joke and I was like, these swings are for everybody, David. And that was and I'm like, I'm gonna write a book and it's gonna be called These Swings Are for Everybody, damn it. But
Great
like
title. Yeah.
it is a good title, right? But I think you heard that and you were like, there's something more there, right? At the time I was using it as sort of a beat my chest kind of thing of I stand up for myself. I don't ever lay down. I'm always going to push for the most. I'm resilient. I'm tough. I want justice. But yeah, in some ways I did. But the other half of that story is those kids almost whooped my tail, me and my sister. Like they ran us off that playground. Like we ran to my dad's van. We were like, start the car, peel out. Like they're chasing us off this playground. Right. And it was on a different side of town. And like, so there was something deeper there around belonging and standing out and not feeling like I can be myself. And that's where this dimmer switch analogy began, but then it created deeper work that we're still working through. So that's kind of how that one unraveled and we're still working on this as I admit. But then the second one is even more which I really want to share with listeners, the
Mm.
worth gap. Now that was one that again, I did not set out to talk to you about or even knew was a thing in me, but we sort of surfaced that as well. And that's what I love about your work. It's like I may come to you with something completely surface, and we know this in coaching, like for all my peer coaches who are listening, we know you coach the person, not the problem. What they think they're coming to you with is often not really what the real true area of work truly is. And so I'm coming in like, "Yay, I started my own business and I'm gonna start I'm not going back to corporate." And you're like, "Huh, what are you offering?" And just sort of that discovery session of questions or section rather, and then it surfaced the worth gap. So do you remember how that came into our world?
Totally,
Yeah.
yeah, it was one of those, it was so clear because I don't remember what you were talking about, but you were talking about something the way you do, and I was listening to what you were saying, but you got to this one point where you were talking about what you charge or something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and young Rachel,
Yep.
uh, appeared
Yep.
and just then appeared to kind of sweep something under the rug. And I was like, oh, wait,
Mhm.
hold on,
Mhm.
go back.
Yep.
And but it's interesting because it's also you wanting me to see it in a way. It's really interesting. So you're trying to sweep it under the rug, but at the same time, you kind of want me to see it too. And so, so I just, but again, you're so great because all I had to do is say, whoa, whoa, back up, back up, back up, say more
Yeah.
about that. And
Yeah.
you're so willing to say more. And then as you say more, something that you've walked past 1,000 times that has collected dust that you don't even notice anymore, to me is like, what is that thing that you're walking past that's collecting dust? What's that? And oh, that thing? Yeah. And then you just very vulnerably start going into and talking about it. And 5 minutes later, you have a new understanding about this relationship with your own value. that
Yes.
you didn't have 5 minutes earlier, so all of a sudden
Yes.
you're asking questions and you're looking at it differently.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was definitely I mean, I think you physically saw me
Yeah,
shift, like, my
yeah.
voice changed, my body language went like, shoulders rounded, there was fidgeting, right? And even though I don't know, maybe you'd seen me 4 times before that, you were able to detect that, your whole demeanor changed when you started talking about and it was formalizing pricing, setting the price, being confident enough to ask for it, to formalize it. I mean, when you start your own business, you and I'm sure you experienced this years ago yourself and for other entrepreneurs who are out there, it's hard to anchor in and articulate your value, especially if you're doing something that comes natural to you,
Mhm.
that's in your zone of genius, or it's your passion, it's your mission. You love to help people, you love to develop people, you love to support people. And so when you have to put a price on that and then potentially have to say it out loud, um, that is that was uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And you detected it immediately. And I just wonder, why do successful people I know it's not just me, and I think you said even early on for your practice, that was something that you worked on. Like, why do successful people struggle to fully own their value? Why is the worth gap such a thing?
Well, I don't think there's one answer to
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but, I can talk a little bit about my own, and you actually kinda hinted at it. One of those things is that, the thing that is your zone of genius, it's so familiar to you,
yeah,
so effortless.
yeah.
Why would somebody pay me to do this thing I barely have to think about? In fact, if I'm honest, I really don't have to think about it. That's
Yes.
valuable? People will pay for that? So, that can be part of it. And then also, there comes, depending on how you grew up and how you were shaped by your environment and the different wounds that you carry around, you have certain operating rules that protect you uh, from from having certain wounds bumped into.
Mhm.
So, finding out, that somebody thinks I'm not worth what I'm asking for, that's a scary proposition for some people, not at all.
Yeah,
For someone who is struggling with their own worth and looking to get validated through work and money and relationships or whatever they're trying to use to get that, that
yeah,
can expose something very, very tender. So it's just worth paying attention to where those upsets appear, because where there is upset, there is something about yourself, a belief deep, buried underneath something that part of you is not wanting to look at. It's very uncomfortable.
yes. I love when you just said operating rules, and I love, um, sort of the way that you lay out your work. And for those of you who want to learn more about it, please go to leadering.com or reach out to David. We'll make sure you have a way to connect to him on LinkedIn. But some of the jargon and the structure of the work that you do, that you provide to a client, I mean, it is eye-opening. Operating rules are essentially just what are the protections you've put in place to ensure that we never go there or that
Yep,
never hurts you again,
that's
right?
really a great way to say it. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
I had some. I would soften the ask. I would do it for pro bono. I'd say, "Ah, you don't have to," and there's so many of us out there, I mean, even who are maybe still sitting in corporate roles. This worth gap is real, and there are things that we have put around our heart or in our body or in just our rules of where the environments will enter into or the relationships will enter into to protect us from ever having to touch that, which is I am afraid to price myself because I'm afraid to be rejected. I'm afraid someone will say my price is not worth it and therefore I'm not worth it. And that is essentially where the worth gap came from. I said, well, I know the value I'm giving is freaking up here, but I don't want to freaking ask. You see, just even in describing it right now, two different bodily reactions. You know your truth, but you also are frightened to death to name it. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to that belonging,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
if I'm rejected, that's evidence that I don't
Yes.
belong. So it's I let you read a couple chapters of
Yeah.
my book,
So
and
good. Yes.
yeah, thank you. So I like to use the example of touching the hot stove
Yeah. Yeah.
to explain how those things come online, because when you tell somebody that you created strategies to protect yourself, well, you did and you didn't. You did, but you didn't intend to do it. You didn't consciously do it. You didn't sit down and draft a plan to do it. Your mind just does it. Just
Yeah.
like you touch the burner, your mind immediately crafts a response to if you ever encounter a hot burner again,
Won't touch
it
it.
just knows you don't touch it,
Yeah.
and it's the same with any painful experience. And so, with the burner, the programs or the operating rules sound like don't touch the burner, don't go near the burner.
Yeah.
For something like what you're talking about, don't ask for what you feel like you deserve. Don't give that person the opportunity to tell you no,
Yeah.
because there's evidence that you don't belong, and that's
Ooh.
got to avoid that at all costs. That's the tough one.
That's the one we don't wanna touch, we never wanna feel, we never wanna see, we hide from it, and I hate that you call it out. I'm trying to keep dust on it and sweep it under this rug, and you're like, I see that, so let's talk about that. Close your eyes. Alright, listen. Speaking of speaking of naming our worth, I have decided I am going to sponsor today's show with what has changed since I started working with you, right? We were talking about the fact that I started my own business. It is called Bolton Leadership Advisory, and this podcast is a part of it, but also speaking and visibility and showing up differently, workshop facilitation, as well as executive advisory. To learn more, please go to therachelbolton.com. Ooh, shameless plug. All right. Now, I've plugged leadering.com. I've plugged me. All right. But I really want to share about this work. Like, we have so much more to go. We have like 10, 11 sessions left. We've got a lot to uncover. Where do you think the work is still unfolding, David?
What, for me or for
With
you?
me. Yeah, with
Oh,
me.
that's the great part. I
Yeah,
have no idea.
really.
No, it's awesome. I don't have any preconceived ideas about where it's going. Of course, what we've done so far is orienting it and pointing it in a particular
Right,
direction, but
right.
I have no idea what you're gonna bring. Which is, to me, it's sort of like archaeology. I'm just excavating and kind of brushing fossils, and they
Yes.
start to take shape, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what next? So I have no idea, and I love it. I have no clue.
Oh, neither do I. And I know we said earlier that, or you said earlier that sometimes people think this work is so dark and so scary and blah blah blah. But as I'm discovering, it's not. It's simply, and I love the term excavating, and this is part of your framework as well. But you really don't come in with some motive of specifically getting to a certain thing. It's literally, let's just open the floor. Last time we discussed this, this is where we are now. And then you just go with the flow. And so, one thing that is funny is whenever I tell my husband that I've got a session with you, he's like, oh, put some tissues nearby. He's like, do you have your box of tissues? Because I'm like, I never set out to cry on these things, but like, things come to the surface, and I am a guarded person. So when you get a space, and this is one thing that I appreciate about the work that I get to do for others, when you finally get a space to freely explore those things, like, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that cries on you. And I try to give myself permission that, nope, it's okay that you tapped into something that you likely haven't tapped to in 40 plus, 30 plus years. Like, of course you're gonna cry. Um, that's natural. And so I think I'm sharing that to say if anybody's exploring or thinking about doing some deep dive coaching, especially for founders or CEOs or people who have high altitude, complex decision gravity, and just a lot of interpersonal and professional things that you're handling all at the same time. David's work is amazing. So, really encourage you to shout out to him. And if you see me transforming before your eyes, it's because I am in this wonderful program. And so I always do this, David. I do what's called a lightning round, lightning lounge. Are you ready for this? They're just quick hits. First thing that comes to mind. And I made them very easy for us today. Are you ready?
Would it be okay if I commented on what you just said, though?
Yes, before we get into it,
Before we
please.
jump in?
Yes.
I just wanted to comment on it because
Yes.
I really appreciate that, but I wanted to 2 things. One is, I'm happy that it feels like very free flowing and so forth, but I actually do have, something very specific I'm going for when I get into a session, but I think I'm pretty good at
You
just
are.
doing it very naturally, and that is unearthing the things that are not going right now, the things that are upsetting you, holding you back, walls you're hitting, things that just aren't settled now, and then using that as the material to go in and excavate what we're needing to understand. That's number 1. And then number 2, I just wanna say, yes, there like, for you, I'll just speak, with our experience, yes, there have been tears, but but I want to say, it can be difficult to recognize something that you have sort of adhered to blindly for a very long time. But I think the other thing that you're starting to appreciate, or at least I've noticed you appreciating, is the amazing fortitude and resilience of the different stages of little Rachel and the things that she had to endure and overcome and adapt to. And that can bring tears too, just that deep appreciation
Yeah.
for all of those amazing things that you did without any direction, just
Yeah.
figured out. Yeah, so
Yeah. That's
I
right.
just wanted to say that before we get into the lightning round, but yes,
He
I'm
does
ready
have
for
a
it.
process, forgive me, he's just so masterful, it feels like I mean, it just feels like I'm sitting in your living room and you're like, "So, what's the" but of course you have a methodology, it's clear in some of the resources you give clients afterwards and beforehand, and so I love the whole process and
Mm,
the way that it's designed is
mm,
beautiful, but then
thank
also,
you.
yes, it's not always tears of sadness or regret or painful memories from childhood. Sometimes it's just like a watershed release of,
Mhm,
"Holy smoke, she was resilient." Little Rach really, really worked hard at being able to adapt to her environments, and I'm proud of that, and I also thought about my parents, like, it all come so much was swirling in that moment, so you're right, but still, my husband knows I need tissues when I talk to you, I don't take that back, okay? So now to the
take it back.
lightning round. These are easy, and I know it's morning time for you or about ending morning time, mid-morning. So coffee or tea or neither?
Oh my gosh, coffee all day
Oh,
long.
wow. What's your
Not
coffee choice?
literally all day long, but I
Okay,
love
'cause
coffee.
please, I didn't know. I don't think you would want that, but what is your coffee choice? What's your favorite? You're in
Uh,
Washington, right?
yeah, it's this Joe's Coffee. I don't know if it's local or what,
Yeah,
but it's awesome.
it's
Yeah,
your jam. All right.
my jam. Yeah.
One leadership word or phrase that we don't use enough.
That we don't use enough.
Yeah.
Choice.
Choice. Why choice?
Well, the work that I do is all about essentially the architecture of choice.
Mhm.
And the every leader carries around something, if they've got a successful business, everything's going great.
Yeah.
There's always something that they're not able to bring themselves to do, or something that they can't stop themselves from doing. And it's also costing them and it's costing other people, usually in their company in different ways. And so it is in those experiences that they're embarrassed about, that that they have difficulty at the heart of those most difficult moments. There is a space that you can learn to cultivate that you can climb into and change your life from that place. So choice is it's everything.
That
If you want to
and your work helps dissect choice, so I'm really looking forward to getting there with you. All right.
very
Biggest
much so.
misconception about confidence?
Biggest misconception about confidence?
Yeah.
Um, well, hmm. For me, it doesn't have anything to do with turning up the volume or turning down the volume in relationship to others, but it is being uh, comfortable enough to not adjust my volume, no matter who I'm with or where I'm sitting.
Ooh, I like that one. Yeah,
That's best
that's
I can
big.
do, I think.
Yes, all right, last one, easy one. Favorite place to think?
Favorite place to think right now is my bike for sure.
Nice. Are is this
Yeah.
a road bike? Okay, my husband's a cyclist, now we gotta talk about this. Is it a road bike?
Yeah, yeah.
Bike?
Because I'm writing a book and I'm like 90% of the way through that, and I have this little app. I download the manuscript and I can listen to it read to me,
Yeah,
which is a completely different experience, and then that generates more creativity, and so that's where I like to do it.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, and I still wanna know what kind of bike.
It's a Diverge, a Specialized Diverge, yeah.
Oh, we love Specialized. We love Specialized. All right. Well, I have taken up so much of your lovely morning. Let's go ahead and let everyone know. Thank you, David. You do transformational work. I am honored to be a part of this, your whole book process. I can't wait until it's done. It's going to change lives, but also just the work that you do in practice. I am honored to be a part of it and that you decided to stay my friend. So I said I would wrap with one final question. Normally, we say our signature question, what did you have to unlearn to be the leader you are today? But I gave it a little twist today. I'd love for us both to answer this. Yeah. What's one truth that you hope every leader takes away from today's conversation?
Mm. Do you mind answering first?
No, not at all.
'Cause I don't wanna steal your thunder if we happen to go to the same place. I've
Oh,
got a couple.
no, no, I was gonna say, do not be afraid to do the deeper work.
Mm,
I think earlier you kinda hinted at some people don't want to uncover this stuff. They don't want to face their habits, their, operating rules, their protections, their things that have kept them safe, right? And so if I can change anybody's mind who might be in that boat, like, do not be afraid to or hesitant to get into this work. It can be very, very freeing, and you've heard me say this, like, I take it and run with it. Like, I found out about my dimmer switch, and then I just started just turning it up everywhere I went. And when I couldn't, my husband would say, "Oh, that's your dimmer switch. Come on, you know you wanna wear this dress and not that shirt. Like, come on." Like, it's daily coaching even between the sessions, and it literally shows up in your day-to-day life, week-to-week life. So that was gonna be my answer. What about you?
yeah, that's great. I think it kind of, goes right with that because the thing that is kind of owning us, especially strong, CEO types,
Yeah,
we don't really like to turn and look at the thing that's kinda kicking our butts,
yeah,
and I don't either. It's taken a lot of time and there's still obviously there's things about myself that I'm always catch myself avoiding.
yeah,
Um, but within those difficult experiences, that is where the change lives that you are actually wanting. Like, so I guess the one thing I would like to say to leaders, if there are any listening to this, is that if you have that thing, and I know you do, that you can't stop doing, or that you cannot make yourself start doing, and you're frustrated, you're embarrassed, you have even some shame around it because you feel like you should be able to, and for some reason you can't, There's a very good reason why it's difficult. It has nothing to do with you being weak or unable. It's just that you've got something in your operating rules that is very old and very practiced, and you can turn to it and look at it and understand it and do something different. It does not take years. It just takes a little bit of being willing to turn around and look.
Yes. Oh, I love this. Just takes a little bit of leadering, right? Thank you so much, my friend. This has been another great episode, incredible conversation with you. I hope that you see how much I value your work. I hope our listeners will look into you. I mean, come on. This is stuff you don't get every day. So thank you for joining me. And everyone, please stay tuned for our next episode and we'll see you next time. Thanks, David.
Thank you so much.